Bitcoin can help in so many things besides being a money. That's where we want to be really proficient, because it's also a way for locals, when they see these kind of projects that everybody wins, it will make them curious about this technology and want to learn more. And we are not only helping the government, the people, the farmers, everyone, even the ecology, because we are burning methane and having fertilizer as a byproduct. We are not only doing all of that, which is kind of amazing in itself, we are showing off how this amazing new technology is important for other people that are still not quite there.
Hello and welcome to the Freedom Footprint Show. We're concerned about your freedom footprint and we want to help you spread as much freedom dioxide as possible. I'm your host, BTCPseudoFinn, and tonight I'm not here with Knut Svanholm. Unfortunately, he has a man cold from hell. Those are his words. But everything's okay because we have a great guest with us tonight, a Bitcoiner who I've had the pleasure of meeting in person, and someone in the center of everything that's going on right now in Madeira. You might have heard about that. We talked about it a lot on the show. So I'm pleased to have with us today, André Loja. Welcome, André.
Hey, Luke. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, it's nice to have you here. For our listeners, do you mind giving a short introduction and a little bit about how you got into Bitcoin?
I'm an entrepreneur from Madeira, although I don't like that word a lot. I say I'm a doer most of the time. I'm a Madeiran, born and raised. Nowadays, I have a big family as well, my wife and 4 kids. I love my island. I love Madeira. It's one of the best places to live in the world. We are very fortunate about that. So I own several companies, businesses in Madeira. Most of them not related to each other, and I've been doing this for quite a while. I started my first business maybe 13 years ago, from vacation rental management to a co-working space to a publishing company, a marketing agency. It's going well, fortunately.
Great to hear. And how did your Bitcoin journey end up starting in all this?
Like most of the people, I started my crypto journey. Number go up and all that bullshit, and amazing projects, and we were going to save the world with putting a token on video streaming, whatever, all those bullshit marketing stuff that you fall for when you don't know more. And I did it I don't remember the first time I bought Bitcoin. Maybe 2016, something like that. And then, 2017, there was the bull market. Everybody was excited. I bought a bunch of bullshit. I basically at the time, I remember that I only touched Bitcoin basically to exchange it for other stuff, because it was, the pair to, to do all the trading. And, fell for the ICOs, I remember perfectly talking to friends about how Ethereum was going to solve the world with their smart contracts and being the world computer, and I got my tuition money paid to the universe, as I guess we all do. Eventually, of course, that calmed down, right? We got the bear market, and then that's when I started slowly my Bitcoin journey. Nothing was happening, and the pain was there by losing money and all that token mania and ICO mania, whatever. And then eventually, I started learning slowly, as we all do, starting reading some stuff, following the right people on Twitter that I didn't follow before. But eventually, it only struck really deep after COVID, I had, as I tell you, I have several companies, and, March 2020 was scary. Everything stopped. I have a big family, 4 kids. And honestly, I think it was that time, April, May, June, after the big hit, that I dug even deeper, and I finally, a light bulb exploded suddenly, gradually, and then suddenly, I guess, everything changed inside my head, and I realized that Bitcoin was totally different from everything else, and was one of the most amazing discoveries that we had as a human species, honestly. And I stopped caring about the price at all, and I started caring about the world and the future of my family, and that is amazing, I guess, when you finally reach that level. Well, and not the level of understanding of Bitcoin, because there's so much still. Even after these 2 years that I'm really, really deep into the thing, I still don't know a lot. Actually, the more you know, the more you know shit. But the more you dig and the more you start understanding about the world and everything, because it's not only about Bitcoin. Bitcoin was almost like an excuse to start seeing the world differently and enhancing your critical mind to everything that touches you. The vision of the world, the way I see the world, changed drastically. Almost, I can say 180 degrees. It's that, that twist in your life, but in the end, it's a good twist, because with all the bullshit that was happening in the world, all the manipulations, all the corruption, everything, you start getting a new optimism for life, because you have this amazing tool that gives you a direction, a goal for your life. And that's been very rewarding.
I like how you put it like that, about some kind of optimism, because it's really funny how it changes your perspective. And really, it seems like so many of the stresses around the monetary system just go away, and you've got now this magical new base layer that you can just build on and not worry about it. And I think I understand what you say when you say you don't look at the price anymore, you don't care about the price anymore. It's different than that. What helped you come to this realization that Bitcoin was different?
I'm not sure. As I told you, it was a very gradual process. Then there was that light bulb moment when you see the world differently suddenly. But there's many steps that lead you to that. I remember perfectly one talk. I do remember one talk that really struck me, and this was when MicroStrategy did their first business something. I don't remember exactly what it was, but the first talk of that online conference, was between Michael Saylor and Ross Stevens from NIDIC. And that conversation was a turning point for me, I guess. I've actually never revisited the talk. I should listen to it again once, but it really struck a chord on me. Yeah, maybe on top of all the other layers that were already making their foundations on my brain. But it was very special, and maybe that's the only point in time that I can really remember that something lighted in me.
That makes sense. And I think the MicroStrategy Saylor connection is a really common one. He's created so many Bitcoin maxis, I think, that it makes total sense that this is.
Although I have to put the hat on Ross, because I thought the Ross was amazing on that talk. It was not. I was following Michael before, of course, on Twitter and everything, but it was really the guest Ross Stevens that made it was fantastic.
That's good to hear, and credit where credit is due. I see now we have a man called Afflicted Knut here to say hi, I think.
Hey, Luke, and hey, Andre. How you doing?
How are you? Feeling better?
I'm feeling crap, but I'm at my temporary office here, so I haven't got my equipment. So I just popped in to say hi.
Hey.
Good luck. Maybe this way you can actually get to say a couple of words, Andre, because I tend to talk too much. So
I think Luke scheduled this for you'd get the flu, so I can speak more.
Yeah. It was pure altruism. Yes.
All right, man. Feel better, man.
Yeah, thank you. And here's my orange pill app.
Oh, nice sweater.
Perfect.
Right.
Thanks.
Take care, guys.
And actually, that's a good reminder that I neglected to mention right off the start of the show that the Orange Pill app is a sponsor of the show. If you don't know about the Orange Pill app, check it out. It's available for iOS right now and should be coming up soon on Android. This episode should be released in January 23. So check out the Orange Pill app. It's a tool to meet other Bitcoiners in your local area and therefore make these strong connections that help to speed up hyper-Bitcoinization. Again, that's the Orange Pill app. Check it out for iOS and Android. You can pay with Lightning, by the way, or dirty fiat if you like. And it's paid. It's got a walled garden approach, so it's to keep away the spammers. It's not much, $2.99 US a month. And you get access to the social network for Bitcoiners. It's not a dating app necessarily because women in Bitcoin are more finite than Bitcoin itself. But check it out and hopefully you can make some good connections with the Orange Pill app.
And Matteo is a great guy.
Matteo is a great guy. We just had him on and spoke to him. He's got a fascinating story, real character. That guy, yeah. Anyway, back to you, Andre.
That was it. I think if I can remember one point that really struck me, that was it. And then it's just layers and layers and layers of good talks and good articles and good conversations online. And I'm following Bitcoin Twitter is really, really important. Yeah, it's the go-to place to get access to brilliant minds in the space, basically, and everything they do, and write and speak. And, the addiction was there. I can say that my mind revolves about Bitcoin nowadays.
I know exactly what you mean. And Bitcoin Twitter, I kind of think I hadn't thought to go onto Twitter when I first found Bitcoin, crypto in general too. And then I got the recommendation from one of the few Bitcoiners that I was in touch with. He asked for my Twitter handle and I said, I'm not on Twitter. And he said, well, absolutely, you have to get on Twitter. And then instantly it seemed like a whole world opened up. I could find Bitcoiners from all over the world, new faces, people I was familiar with, all the big podcasters and that sort of thing. But then I found people from Finland, including Konsensus, and that's how I initially saw and got in touch with Nico, which is really how my journey with Konsensus has started. And I understand you've got something similar, Andre, and that you connected with Konsensus early on.
Yeah, and it's a funny story because, as we were saying, you get infected, your mind is suddenly everything you can think about is Bitcoin and all that Bitcoin touches, which is basically everything. As Knut would say, everything divided by 21 million, right? And I was already a doer, as I told you in the beginning. So there's this story about how I started Monstera Books, which is a Bitcoin publishing company. So that was my first, let's say, venture into the Bitcoin world. And, as a Bitcoiner, I was reading, listening to everyone. And every time I went to a bookstore, I searched for Bitcoin books, right? To no avail. No, nothing was there. And I remember I was in Lisbon on vacations, and I went to this really big bookstore in Lisbon. And again, no books, right? And when I was coming out, they have those top 10 sales of the month or the year or whatever. And number 8, there was this insanely bad crypto book. So I immediately decided in that moment that I needed to do something about it, because there were so many, and I was already, of course, reading English books about it, about Bitcoin. but there was nothing in Portuguese specifically about Bitcoin or Bitcoin only. And I decided I'll try. This can be my contribution, right? Everybody wants to contribute to the space. So this can be, I'm not a tech guy, and this can be my contribution. I'm a doer. I can do this. I knew nothing about publishing, zero, but at least I had some experience with business. So I started sending basically cold messages on Twitter, and one of the books that I really loved was The Price of Tomorrow by Jeff Woods. And so I sent him a cold DM on Twitter. And magically, Jeff Woods replied to this unknown pleb on a lost island in the middle of the Atlantic. And basically, after a few conversations, said, yes, of course, you can keep the Portuguese rights. And I started the whole company because of that. And then, because Jeff is so well respected in the space, it was easier to onboard other authors. My second book was VJs, The Bullish Case for Bitcoin. Then I got Thank God for Bitcoin by several authors like Breedlove and Jimmy Song and so on. And then I translated Gigi's as well. And Knut, which is dropping soon. We're almost finishing the layout for the everything divided by 21, and we will have all three ready to sell as a triplet, I guess. So it started the whole business of Bitcoin publishing, and now we have Bitcoin books all over Portugal, in bookstores and online and whatnot, in our store and everything. But we did it. It's working. It's selling slowly on a bear market, but it's there for everyone to reach out. I did it not only, of course, I want to make a sustainable business, but when I started it, it was not about money. It was something I really wanted to do, and I did.
Oh, it's a fantastic story, and I mean, good on you for seeing the need and basically doing what you needed to do to make it happen. And it's a great lineup of books. It's fantastic to see. And what are you seeing as the impact, not only in Madeira, but you mentioned this is in bookstores all over Portugal. Are you seeing an impact?
I don't know. I can only speak now there were some people that contacted me and congratulated me, and this colloquial talk about finally good books on the thank you for this and so on. I only know basically the amount of books that we're selling. It's not bad for the size of Portugal. You can make a difference with a small thing. That's what we try to do. And then, that's where the connection with Konsensus comes. At some point I knew about two other companies that were Bitcoin only. One in Germany, I think, and the other one in Finland. And I eventually contacted them because the Konsensus, for example, that I didn't know at the time, of course, we were actually fighting for the same Portuguese rights. And we eventually got to talk with each other, and how Bitcoiners are. We are very shareable people. So we were more like into how can we collaborate, right? Instead of, fight. Doesn't make sense. That we have the same goals, which is to basically distribute good content in Bitcoin. And that is the fun part. When we eventually, so I got talking with Nico and so on, and we eventually decided to have a meeting, which I thought it would be an online meeting, but the guy was Finnish, right? The guy was my neighbor. He was living in Madeira already, just next to me, like 30 seconds walking from my house, literally a neighbor. And that was funny. And now, of course, we became friends, and the rest is history.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And what exactly is the cooperation or collaboration that you're doing with Konsensus in your publishing house?
No, a very simple one. We don't fight, we collaborate. So he already had at least 3 books in Portuguese. So we take those books in our web shop, and we help them distribute as well and ship on regular mail to Portuguese clients. And our books are also at Konsensus for sale. So it's
win-win
for
right?
everyone, of course.
Yeah. And I'm curious about something. So you've mentioned only Portugal. Do these books, is the Portuguese translation, would that also translate to Brazil, or is that a little bit too far?
Yeah. Well, Brazilian Portuguese is slightly different than mainland Portuguese, or the original Portuguese, if you put it that way. We are actually working with Konsensus to distribute there. I know that Konsensus is doing a partnership with a Brazilian entity to take care of distribution there. And we didn't start yet, but we will. And we will distribute in Brazil soon. And I also have some plans. I already have a contact with Mozambique as well, to see if we can start there. And there are other places like Angola and I don't know what to say in English. São Tomé and Prince, Saint Thomas and Prince, I guess. You said
Yeah, I think it's Sao Tome.
in English.
Same, yeah, in the English, yeah.
So there are a few Portuguese-speaking countries that we can, distribute or be present, I guess. Let's say it slowly. It's not an easy business, and these countries are very far away. So we need to take it slowly and surely.
Yeah, understandable. But of course, all of these places, I mean, everywhere in the world is an opportunity to spread Bitcoin, the message and all that with these books. But Brazil, Africa, these are all places that are being talked about as opportunities for Bitcoin due to economic conditions and all this. So
sure. Africa especially and Brazil is, they are already very deep into Bitcoin. A lot of people in Brazil. And as we know, their money is shit. Well, everybody's money is shit, but there are even shittier than Western monies. And they understand Bitcoin much better than we do on our financial privilege of Europeans and Americans. And so it's easier for them to grasp the importance of something like Bitcoin. And also, Brazil is a big market. So if you can make it there, it's also helpful for the business, of course. They have like 240 million, something like that, people in Brazil. In Portugal, it's 10. And Angola, it's 13. And Mozambique, not much as well. So just Brazil, it's I don't know, 10 times as big as all the other Portuguese-speaking countries put together.
Yeah, but I think the impact, no matter where in the world you are, I think that's important, and great to see what you're doing with the books and the impact that you're making there, and to bring it a little more local now. Obviously, especially with your funny connection with Nico as being local in Madeira. Madeira is turning into a bit of a Bitcoin hotspot, similar to El Salvador, really, and all of the other places. So can you tell us a little bit about how that started to develop, that Bitcoin started to get its hold on Madeira?
Yeah, so it's not like El Salvador. El Salvador is really special, and they're a sovereign country that we are not. So they have the powers to go beyond, and they also have a very, very valiant president, let's put it that way, that is fighting big established corporations, let's put it, and other major Western superpowers with you must take your hat to that guy. It's amazing what he's doing there. In Madeira, it's totally different. We are a semi-autonomous region of Portugal, and we do have to. We have a president and a parliament, but there's only so much we can do. Our powers are limited. So we do belong to Portugal, and we have to comply to most of the rules of Portugal, and especially the EU. And we know how the EU is. It's going to fight hard. It's a very bureaucratic enterprise. Let's call it that way, not to go harder. So there's, of course, dangers and limitations on what we can do. We're trying to be smart about it. Our main goal on Free Madeira is to, well, it starts from the beginning, right? We had the opportunity to bring the president to Miami, and that was already very good. I was seeing a lot of bullshit around me, a lot of shitcoinery, because Portugal it's not anymore, and we'll talk about that, but was for a long time tax-free on crypto. So it was basically invaded by all sorts of projects and people, and I was seeing a lot of bullshit around me. And when the opportunity arose that we could influence the government somehow on a good direction, I took it. And we were fortunate enough to already have the connections to some important, influential Bitcoiners. They helped me a lot. We were able to take the president to Miami, as I was saying, and we had some very deep orange pilling sessions from Michael Saylor himself and Jeff Booth and SafeBin and all these other guys. The president understood, because it was part of his overall strategy for Madeira as well, that we can go deep on that it was an important technology and that it was important to separate from the rest of what didn't matter. Let's put it like this. So we decided to do it in a smart way. So we decided to do a non-profit organization outside of the government that could work on Bitcoin adoption in Madeira. And when I mean adoption, there was a lot of confusion when the president did this announcement in Miami. I don't mean adoption as legal tender. That was never possible. And there was a big confusion on the term. When we mean adoption is by the people, by the businesses, by the community, the whole goal of this organization is to, again, increase the adoption of the people in Madeira, because it's quite low. And we even had some comments at the beginning and some critiques that we welcome, of course. But they were like, we don't see any adoption in Madeira, and there's no businesses accepting Bitcoin and so on. And my reply is, that's the whole point of this organization, because if there was, we wouldn't have a need to do Free Madeira. So we are establishing Free Madeira exactly because I love my island and I want to see the awareness of how important Bitcoin is for the future increase. And that comes through education. And that comes with a lot of different plans that we have that we can talk about if you want. And I'm very, very bullish on some of the plans.
Yeah, you touched on a few things here. First of all, I'm curious about kind of the overall strategy at Madeira, how this is different from Portugal itself, and what you mentioned that the president has his own strategy and plans for Madeira that this Free Madeira project is fitting into.
Even before Miami, the president realized something that in hindsight it's obvious. Madeira is we are an island in the middle of the Atlantic. So historically, we had some disadvantages, of course. We couldn't compete on a global world in terms of industry and all sorts of other aspects, like we have to import a lot of stuff. And fortunately, we are not so bad because it's an amazing island. So we are historically very good at tourism. For centuries, even, we have been getting, we have great hotels, great nature, everything. The weather is magnificent in Madeira and everything. Madeira is really a good place to live. Quality of life is magnificent. And for ages, we've been living off of tourism. It's the most important industry by far in Madeira. But for the first time in history as well, suddenly, of course, it took some years, but historically, it's almost suddenly, like technology changed everything. And now, because we are very fortunate to have very good infrastructure, not only like build things in like roads and all of that, we also have a very good digital infrastructure, because the island is connected to America, South America, Europe, Africa through data cables. And we were also a test bed for all sorts of technologies in Portugal, because it was an isolated place that you could test new technologies. For example, we were the first place in Portugal to have cable TV. They did the satellites and they tested the thing here. So in Funchal, we had cable TV, and in mainland Portugal, they didn't. And now the result is we have magnificent digital technologies like data centers and Wi-Fi and basic fiber speeds. Everything's good. The president realized that this was finally the opportunity for Madeira to compete on a global stage. Because suddenly it was not a disadvantage, it was an advantage, because in a lot of services, in a lot of industries, location stopped being so important. And on the services business, on the technology business, you can be anywhere. And there is suddenly this shift from big cities to more, quality of life places where people can establish, do their own businesses, work remotely, whatever it is. And suddenly Madeira is one of the best places to establish. If you add, a favorable tax regime on top of that, it's almost a no-brainer. After COVID, there was also a big bet on nomads and remote workers, and suddenly we've had a big influx of people for the last 2 years on this global trend of living and bringing your family to a more, safe place with good quality of life where you can work and enjoy life at the same time and have, but still have, like good infrastructure, schools, culture, restaurants, and so on. Madeira can have a good mix that makes almost like the perfect storm for Madeira right now. The president was already, seeing crypto and the nomads and the remote workers and all of that. Now he realizes it's Bitcoin, and that's the bet. But in a very high perspective, it's just, seeing Bitcoin as this technology that it's here to stay and it's the future. So he feels that it needs to support that as well. It's part of the strategy, and the new generations are already there. And that's the ones he wants to attract to the island, to stop the brain drain that we are a very immigrant island for ages because of all the problems that we had, right? And low salaries, reliant on tourism. A lot of people went all sorts of places worldwide. We have much more people from Madeira outside of Madeira than in. And suddenly, again, there's this shift that we can attract not only the residents back and keep them here and, develop new technologies and technology education and bring outsiders as well and develop a whole ecosystem here for the future, basically, of Madeira.
That's fantastic. Great to hear. And how does the Free Madeira organization fit in with that? Because, of course, you mentioned the strategy overall to bring in this new technology, but what role is Free Madeira playing? And the people involved in Free Madeira are, it reads like a who's who of the Bitcoin space, at least in this side of the world. And what is Free Madeira going to do in conjunction with this strategy?
Well, first of all, now that you mentioned all the people, my hats to everyone that decided to help this initiative. It's amazing. Our governance board and our advisory board is something of the dream. Sometimes I pinch myself with the amount of people that are helping and the brain that we have to help us. You can go to our website, freemadeira.com. On the About Us, you'll see what I'm saying. Again, Bitcoin touches everything. So we want to be we want to be a central place for people and businesses that are interested in being part of this community to develop, and we'll help them in everything we can. We can be a connector to the local environment, local governments. And then we have many different plans in many different parts of Bitcoin. I can go through some of them. So education is a big factor, of course. We are working with Looking Glass Education. We are translating their courses to Portuguese. And we'll start next year with the in-person classes, workshops, everything that people need to know, from the basics of how money works and how sound money is so important to deep into the technology of Bitcoin. Something very important for me is the remittances. As I said, we have a big community outside of Madeira, especially a big connection to Venezuela, and we all know how Venezuela is. And we have a big community of Madeira people in Venezuela and a big community here as well. So we want to help them use this amazing new open source technology that can bring value from one side to the other without using the fiat rails and the black markets strategies that they use to bring money to Madeira and vice versa. That's very important for us. And these are stuff that clearly help straight away the people. It's not only about, telling them, oh, Bitcoin is great and it will come up in price. No, we don't care about that. Right now, you can use it for remittances right now to help with your families and everything. So, and that's those kind of projects are really important to me right now. I still didn't find the correct place, but we'll do a whole building where we'll have the organization, where we're going to hold the meetups, where we're going to do the podcast, and especially we'll have the co-working space dedicated to Bitcoin companies, where they can work and basically be the home of the community. And I've been seeing, I've been overwhelmed with contacts, and it's amazing to see that most people just want to be surrounded by like-minded people. That's the most important thing for them. So we are really keen on establishing this community and growing from there. Another very important projects are the mining projects. So Madeira is an island. We have our own isolated grid. There's the one company only, the public power company. And they being part of the EU, as you know, they have this, extremely renewable goals that they have to meet. And we are doing a study and working with them to see we know, just want to teach them how to integrate Bitcoin mining to develop and help this strategy, increasing the renewable share of the grid and also stabilizing the grid, because we are an island, energy cannot go anywhere, and increase the amount of energy production that we do locally instead of having to import fuel and natural gas from elsewhere. Also, private enterprises, we are working on waste management, anaerobic digestion, helping the waste as we monetize, and a byproduct we can do fertilizer, local fertilizer instead of importing. Bitcoin can help in so many things besides being a money, and that's where we want to be really proficient, because it's also a way for locals to really, when they see these kind of projects that everybody wins, it will make them curious about this technology and want to learn more. And we are not only helping the government, the people, the farmers, everyone, even the ecology, because we are burning methane and having fertilizer as a byproduct. We are not only doing all of that, which is kind of amazing in itself. We are, showing off how this amazing new technology is important for other people that are still not quite there. Yeah, so many plans.
Yeah, it's amazing to hear everything that you're working on, even in such a short time. If we're talking since even 2020, for you even to start getting into the space seriously, and then now end of 2022, beginning of 2023, where all of this stuff is now happening, it sounds like you're helping to touch tons of areas of life in Madeira. Not, as you say, not just the economic aspect, but these other things that are enabled by the mining. It sounds like all of the main innovations in the mining space over the last year or so, the waste mining, the grid stabilization, all of this.
They are just scratching still. Can you imagine how mining? We don't know what's going to happen, right? But we're starting to unveil some of the stuff that this technology can help and can be part of. I can only imagine what we'll be able to do in 5-10 years. And Madeira is also a very good place for this. Again, remember the cable TV test bed, like it's a good place to do tests. Like the grid is a very good example. We can start working on these projects and and then evaluate them and replicate them elsewhere. So that's also one of the goals. going back to the advisory board, we are so fortunate to have such people involved, and especially in the energy. We have Troy Cross, amazing guy, working with us on this. We have other people that are already here doing private projects. Obi is part of the advisory board as well. We want to establish a Fediment community here and work on that as well and connect everything, because Bitcoin connects everything magically, and it's great.
What exactly is Knut doing in all this besides thinking deeply as he always does?
Well, he's not here still, although he's planning on coming. He's part of the governance board, so we have been meeting weekly. Me, Knut, Daniel, Nico, and Rob. We meet very often and basically share ideas and strategies. So we are very much at the beginning of all of this. I'm very focused now on, well, first of all, finishing all the bureaucracy, because I didn't finish everything yet. Unfortunately, the bureaucracy is not something that we're good at. It's just like the rest of the world. Hopefully Bitcoin fixes this someday. We're still finishing with all that part, getting into the funding rounds. We're still requesting funding from sponsorships and private donors. So we are very much at the beginning. I'm very focused on, right now I'm overwhelmed with the messages and the people that are coming. And I'm trying to help them all and see where they can integrate, because everybody wants to help, but we need to organize, or else it's just a anarchy of and very confusing. So I'm helping everyone, finding real estate, incorporating the company, organizing where they can help in the future, to see where they can help us develop all these plans that we have, or where they fit in or not. A lot of people are coming and searching for land and doing all sorts of projects that relate to the mindset. Like a lot of people are searching for land to do regenerative farming, doing homeschooling communities, doing cattle farming for direct-to-consumer businesses. So all of this that relates to the Bitcoin mindset and way of life. And a lot is happening, a lot. And we only publicly unveiled this 2 months. I know you're dropping this in January. It will be 3 months then, but now it's 2 months and there's already so much happening. It's crazy to see.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I mean, I really love the contrast you actually made with El Salvador earlier. It makes a lot of sense, because it is a top-down adoption scenario. They had places that were adopting Bitcoin a little bit here and there, but this is the example of ground up Bitcoin adoption, and I mean, everything that you're doing here is fantastic to see. It's a great model for other places that want to do this, and I see a lot of synergies between this and the Free Cities initiative that Peter Young is involved in.
He's a part of the advisory board as well.
Makes total sense. We're gonna have him on shortly to talk more about what he's doing.
Great guy.
Yeah, but the synergy here is fantastic to see, because the local aspect, this is completely the way that I think it's going to have to be, because top down only works so far. That's the fiat way. That's the way that everything is done these days.
Exactly.
Throughout the world, centralized. Bitcoin decentralized. How more decentralized does it get than building in your own local area and making an impact on the local level? And I hope that your example can inspire some others who want to get involved, because by the sounds of it, you found Bitcoin, you discovered Bitcoin, the importance of it, and then you started to do things related to Bitcoin. And now look at this, you've got an organization that is advocating for Bitcoin, helping with Bitcoin strategy, and all this has just happened in such a short amount of time, as you said. So I hope that your example can lead other Andres to do similar things.
I hope so. And it actually did. I was just yesterday. I got a message on Twitter, like I do now, and I just turned to my wife and said, "Jesus, it's almost like a big responsibility now on my shoulders, because I started all of this, and suddenly people are moving their families here because of that. So they're changing their lives because of that. And my wife even said, like, "Are you worried? Like are you worried about it?" And I said, "Yeah, well, a bit, but at the end, they're doing it because they're sovereign individuals that want to do something and contribute to something. And if we fuck up, sorry about the language, if we fuck up or the EU fuck up, so something that we cannot control happens in the future, these people are going to vote with their feet again, and they'll just move elsewhere. So, it's at the end, it's Bitcoin is all about individual responsibility, and as Svetsky would say, with great freedom comes great responsibility, and we are all working on the same direction. We all know the dark clouds that are around us, and what can happen, and we're basically all fighting for the same. And again, most of these people, and that's one of the most interesting parts. These people, they never ask me, or rarely do they ask me about the taxes on crypto, and they don't care. They don't care. Well, they may mention it after, like, oh, but it's more like, can I buy property with Bitcoin, or are people accepting Bitcoin somewhere, and and the taxes? And I said, oh, but that changed. Portugal will tax crypto. Okay, that doesn't matter. We'll hodling anyway. So, but so it's much more than that. It's much more about just being surrounded by like-minded people and being part of a community, having people that they can talk to, that they can build with, that they can collaborate with, and it's amazing to see.
Yeah, from my perspective, definitely it's amazing to see. And as you say, building this community and this local community, another synergy with the Orange Pill app as an example. This part's not a show, but it's just the synergies here with all of these projects that are trying to connect people locally, because this is an internet community. It's almost the nation of Bitcoin is just this distributed individuals all over the world connected by Bitcoin, connected by the internet. But it's still important to have local community, and what's happening here on Madeira just seems like a great model for other communities who want to build this up. So is this something that you would see repeatable in other locations if they wanted to adopt a similar model?
Absolutely. As I proved it somehow, and Jeff mentions this a lot of time. People have more power in them than they think. The example that I was saying now, people, talking to my wife, people are coming to Madeira now because of this. This ignited a whole movement that surprises even me now. I was shocked a few days ago. I was shocked about what was happening and what someone can do with a decision, and not only a decision or an idea, but acting on that idea. My wife calls me the 1% guy, because I always talk about ideas are nothing. Ideas are 1% of the thing. It's what you do with them that matters, that really matters. Ideas you have, I go for a walk and I have 10 different ideas. That doesn't matter. It's just acting on them. And one person can make a whole lot of difference. And what I did is honestly nothing special. People can do this right away in every other place that they want to, in their local community, in their local city, in their local island, in their whatever. And we have some examples of that elsewhere. It's not the only community in the world that is working on this. I think we were fortunate enough already to have this beautiful island, and I had the perfect storm of people that wanted to escape, and the advisory board that we got together, and the message and the opportunities that we had that maybe gave us a step ahead. But you can do that anywhere. You can start one there in Finland where you live right now. So we're not doing nothing special. We're just building.
Yeah, that's a great way to put that. And that's what I was hoping you would say, is that this is something anyone could do, and that just building. That's a great way to put it. I hear there's a story as well about maybe trying to connect with the internationally the most famous Madeiran, Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah. But we haven't been able so far. At least we got no reply so far. But that's a cool story. Safedin is a big fan of Ronaldo, and we had this idea to orange pill Ronaldo. Unfortunately, he's shilling some NFTs for Binance or whatever. They must have paid millions for that. Because it's such a celebrity, right? Everybody knows Cristiano Ronaldo around the world. So it was just something that we felt it was funny to do, or funny to try at least. And we sent the Bitcoin standard in Portuguese. We sent it to Safedin, and Safedin wrote in Portuguese a letter to Cristiano Ronaldo and then sent it back to me. I packaged it and delivered it to his brother through the government. And we were hopeful that it reached his hands so we can do a meeting between him and Safedin. And it would be amazing, but Cristiano Ronaldo it's not easy to get things through, especially if you're not paying millions up front. But who knows? Maybe we'll read it eventually. And we imagine it's a long shot, but if it happens, it's something big.
It would be something big, and in fairness, I think he's had a few things on his mind just recently. So maybe now that his big football tournament has ended, unfortunately. Yeah. But now that that's over, maybe you'll have some time for some reading. So that might
maybe who knows? And this guy is I think he's the guy who has more followers online, if I'm not mistaken. Like 500 million Instagram followers, something like that. It's stupid. It's just out of this world rich.
It is crazy, yeah.
Imagine if that guy said suddenly that he supported Bitcoin and our initiative in Madeira. Well, that is just a pipe dream, but who knows? Right? The worst you can get is the same as you already are. Nothing happens, and that's it.
Exactly. And
it's worth a try, right?
It's worth a try. And then the thing there too is that you're always operating locally. As when Madeira gets big enough, free Madeira, Bitcoin on Madeira gets big enough. I mean, I'm sure you'll notice eventually, right?
Who knows?
Because he's active in Madeira even still, right? Like
his family lives here, so when he comes here, I wouldn't say regularly, of course, but every so often. And of course, he keeps his connections to Madeira. So yeah, maybe it will get to his ears someday.
Here's hoping. That'd be great. Is there anything else you wanted to mention about what you're doing or what's going on with Free Madeira?
Well, I think we've covered most of it for now. If you do want to know more, reach out. We have the freemadeira.com website. You can send a message there. We're on Twitter as well, of course. freemadeira.org. And myself, André Loja, it's my name, at André Loja. Send me a DM, send me a message. There's also a Telegram public group there that you can join. I think it's Free Madeira Public, the name of the group on Telegram. And first of all, just visit Madeira, even if, of course, if it's not to live. Just come as a tourist, enjoy the island. It's amazing. You'll like it anyway because it's a great place. And visit for a week or 2 weeks, drive around, and send us a message. We'll have some espetada and some Porsche, and just have fun, talk about Bitcoin.
Sounds fantastic. I can't wait to visit myself. A few things in my life are conspiring that it's not so easy these days, but as soon as possible, I'll be over there. That sounds fantastic. Well, thanks a lot, Andre. This was a great talk. Glad to hear more about what's going on over at Madeira. The project is fantastic, and everything you're doing is fantastic. So
thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for everything that you're doing and organizing. It was great meeting you in Riga. I hope we get to see each other in person.
We will, for sure.
Fantastic. So thanks again, Andre. This has been the Freedom Footprint Show. Thanks very much for listening, and thanks for bearing with us while it's just me with Knut unavailable. I think it's been a great time talking with Andre. So thanks again for coming on. And just a reminder, our show sponsor is the Orange Pill app. Check them out. It's a way to meet local Bitcoiners in your area. It doesn't leak any private information. It just helps you connect with Bitcoiners near you. And a great thing is that you have to pay for it, which means you're not going to get all this spam. It's not much. It's only $2.99 a month, but you get access to your community of local Bitcoiners. And the more people join, the more value there is. It's not a dating app because women in Bitcoin are more finite than Bitcoin itself, but the Orange Pill app is still a great tool to connect with local Bitcoiners in your area. And of course, I have to mention the Konsensus network. As you've heard in today's episode, the Bitcoin book publishing world is one way of spreading the Bitcoin message. And so Konsensus Network is the platform that we're building with here at Freedom Footprint Show to spread the word about Bitcoin in more ways. And so Freedom Footprint is a part of that. So check out their website at konsensus.network. All the books in the various languages are available there. And also check out knutsvanholm.com for everything Knut, including everything divided by 21 million flavored merchandise. Okay, that's it. That's it for us. Thanks for watching or listening to the Freedom Footprint Show. Thanks again.